What happens when 5 heavily armed men storm the most exclusive restaurant in the city? They're not after money. They're after billionaire CEO Marcus Thorne. But they made one fatal mistake. They didn't account for the waitress serving the champagne. They didn't know who Mia Casey really was, and they never saw her hidden skill coming. This isn't just a story. It's a lesson in underestimation, and the chaos that follows when a hidden past explodes into the present. What they planned as a kidnapping just became a war. The air inside Ethelred's wasn't just air, it was a carefully curated atmosphere. It smelled of truffle oil, old money, and a faint floral note from the impossible bouquets of peonies that bloomed in defiance of the November chill. For the patrons, this was a sanctuary. For Mia Casey, it was a cage, just a different kind from the ones she'd known before. Mia moved through the low hum of conversation like a phantom. Her black uniform was immaculate, her apron strings tied in a perfect flat knot, and her face was a mask of pleasant neutrality. "Your wine, sir." "Right away, madam." She was, by all accounts, the perfect waitress, efficient, unobtrusive, and most importantly, invisible. This was the way she wanted it. Invisibility was a skill she had honed to a razor's edge, long before she'd learned how to balance 3 plates on one arm. At Ethelred's, she was just Mia, the quiet girl who never missed a shift and never made a mistake. Her eyes, however, were never quiet. As she refilled a water glass, she was subconsciously cataloguing. Table 3. Man with the signet ring, kept checking his phone, pupils slightly dilated, waiting for a call or perhaps a dealer. Anxious. Table 7. The politician, laughing too loudly, hands gesturing, but his left hand kept touching his breast pocket. A social tic, or checking on a recording device? Exits. Main entrance. 2 security guards, both looking bored. Service exit near the kitchen, steel reinforced. 2 large single-pane windows facing the street, a security floor. Her gaze finally landed on the new arrivals at table 1, the best table in the house. Marcus Thorne. Even people who didn't read the financial papers knew his name. CEO of Thorne Dynamics, the man who was single-handedly dragging global logistics into the 22nd century with automated shipping and AI-driven predictive modeling. He was tall, with sharp features, hair the color of iron, and eyes that matched. He wore a $5,000 suit like it was a pair of pajamas, and he was already talking loudly into a phone that was probably a prototype. "I don't care what Silas Croft is offering," he barked, ignoring the maître d'. "You tell that board that if they don't accept my valuation, I will buy the entire company, fire them, and sell it for parts. Call me back when they're crying." He snapped the phone shut and tossed it onto the white linen, next to a silver fork. He was flanked by 2 bodyguards, men who looked like they were carved from granite. They stood just behind him, their eyes scanning the room with a practiced, lifeless intensity. Let's call them Harris and Grant. Mia was assigned the table. She approached, her water pitcher a perfect mirror of the chandelier above. "Good evening, Mr. Thorne. May I start you with some water?" Thorne didn't even look at her. He waved a dismissive hand. "Whatever. Bring me a bottle of the 78 Waitress, and tell the chef I'm here. I want the Wagyu blue." "Right away, Mr. Thorne." As she turned, Harris, the bodyguard on the left, stepped slightly, blocking her path. "We'll taste the wine first." Mia met his gaze. It was flat, professional. She gave a slight, respectful nod. Of course. She moved away, her heart beating its steady, calm rhythm. 101. She always monitored it. Her old instructor would be proud. She despised Marcus Thorne, not for his wealth, but for his arrogance. He was a man who believed his money made him a god, and his bodyguards made him invincible. He lived in a world where consequences were for other people. Mia knew better. She knew that the real world, the one that existed in the shadows just beyond the warm glow of Etheldreads, didn't care about money. It was a world of physics and pain, of action and reaction. And in that world, a man like Thorn was just a target, a heavy, slow, and very loud target. She retrieved the wine from the cellar, her mind briefly flashing to another cellar, this one damp and smelling of gunpowder and fear. Riga. 3 years ago. She pushed it down. That was another life. That was Koshka, the cat. Koshka was dead, buried in snow and betrayal. Mia Casey was just a waitress. She returned to the table. The ritual began. Presenting the bottle, the approval, the uncorking. Harris, the bodyguard, stepped forward. Mia poured a small amount into his glass. He swirled it, sniffed, and tasted. He nodded. Mia turned to pour for Thorn. And that's when the world ended. It didn't start with a bang. It started with a hiss, like the sound of a tire deflating, but sharper, more focused. Mia, who was angled toward Thorn but facing the entrance, saw it happen. The 2 bored security guards at the door didn't slump or fall. They stiffened. Tiny darts, almost invisible, were sticking out of their necks. They froze, paralyzed, their eyes wide with a terror they couldn't even scream about. And then they toppled like statues. The restaurant's low hum of conversation faltered, died. A woman at table 4 saw the guards fall and opened her mouth to scream. She never got the chance. 5 men moved through the doorway. They were not dressed in black tactical gear. That was for movies. These men were dressed like the patrons. They wore tailored suits, but the cut was all wrong. Too much room in the shoulders, too much bulk under the jacket. They moved with a liquid, predatory grace that did not belong at Etheldreads. "Nobody move," the leader snapped. His voice was calm, accented, Eastern European. Panic erupted. The scream that had been held back was released from 20 throats at once. Patrons dove under tables. Silverware clattered. A glass shattered. Thorn's bodyguards, Harris and Grant, reacted instantly. They were good, Mia noted. They shoved Thorn down into his chair, bellowing, "Get down! Get down!" as they reached inside their jackets. They were good, but they were too slow, and they were playing a different game. 2 of the attackers fanned left, 2 fanned right. They weren't carrying guns. They were carrying something that looked like modified tasers, but with long, extendable prods. Harris got his firearm halfway out of its holster. One of the attackers, a man with the build of a bear, closed the 10-foot gap in 2 strides. The prod hissed, and 50,000 volts slammed into Harris's side. He arched, a horrible choked sound escaping his lips, and collapsed, smoking. Grant managed to fire 1 shot. It was deafening in the enclosed space. The bullet took a chunk out of the marble bar, making the politician at table 7 cry out. But the attacker he was aiming for was already moving, using a screaming patron as a human shield. A second attacker came from the blind side. The prod hit Grant in the back of the neck. He went down without a sound. It had taken 4 seconds. The entire restaurant, from the entrance to the kitchen doors, was silent, save for the muffled sobbing of the politician. Marcus Thorn was frozen in his chair, his face a mask of pale, arrogant disbelief. His invincibility, his armor of money and hired muscle, had just evaporated. The leader of the 5 men walked calmly toward him. He was tall, with a face that looked like it had been carved from ice. His eyes were a pale, chilling blue. He stopped in front of the table and brushed a piece of imaginary dust from his lapel. "Mr. Thorn," the man said. His voice was a smooth baritone, cultured. "You have a reservation with us. Please come." Thorn stared. "Who are you? Do you know who I am? I will have you." The leader sighed, a sound of profound disappointment. He nodded to the bear-like man who had taken down Harris. The man, let's call him Rizzo, stepped forward and slammed a fist, the size of a small ham, onto the table. The ancient wood groaned. "No talking," the leader said. "Just walking." Two of the men, Milo and Corvus, grabbed Thorne by his biceps, hauling him from his chair. The billionaire, for the first time in his life, was utterly powerless. He was just a package. The leader's eyes swept the room, ensuring his men had the exits covered, ensuring the patrons were too terrified to be a problem. His eyes passed over the bar, the kitchen doors, and then they stopped. They stopped on Mia. She hadn't moved. She hadn't screamed. She hadn't hidden. She was still standing by table 1, the 1978 Petrus in her hand, the bottle angled slightly downward. Her heart rate was 155. The world had slowed to a crawl. She was no longer Mia, the waitress. The mask was gone. The leader's icy blue eyes widened, just a fraction. A flicker of recognition? No, disbelief. He tilted his head, a faint, cruel smile touching his lips. "Well," he breathed, the word almost a caress. "This is an unexpected complication, or perhaps a bonus." He took a step toward her, and he spoke a name that hadn't been uttered in 3 years. "Koshka." The name hit Mia harder than a 50,000-volt shock. Koshka, her old call sign. Cat. It wasn't just a name. It was a key. It unlocked a room in her mind she kept bolted shut, a room filled with the smell of cordite, the tang of blood, and the icy wind of the Never River. She looked at the man, the icy blue eyes, the scarred left eyebrow, the cruel, thin smile. "Dmitri," she said. Her voice was flat, dead. Dmitri Sokolov, her former handler, her mentor, the man who had trained her, partnered with her, and then, in Riga, had sold her out, leaving her for dead in a firefight with the Spetsnaz kill team. She had survived, barely. She'd spent 6 months crawling back to life, then erased herself. Mia Casey, the waitress, was born from the ashes of Koshka, and now her ghost was standing in front of her. Dmitri chuckled, a dry, rattling sound. "I knew you were too good to die. They said you were compromised. I said you were just resourceful." His eyes roamed over her waitress uniform, a look of amused contempt. "Though I must admit, this is a disappointing new life." "What do you want, Dmitri?" Mia's grip on the wine bottle tightened. "What I am owed," he said simply. He gestured to Thorne, who was being held by Milo and Corvus. "Mr. Thorne is my retirement plan. But you are a loose end." He looked at Rizzo, the big man, and the 5th man, a thin, wiry operative she mentally dubbed Wraith. "The plan has changed," Dmitri said. "She comes to, alive. She's valuable." Thorne, finally finding his voice, sputtered. "Her? She's a waitress. What are you talking about?" Dmitri ignored him. He was focused only on Mia. "Come, Koshka, do not make this difficult. You know the protocols. You know me." "I know you," Mia agreed. Her eyes flicked. Left to Dmitri. Right to Rizzo. Behind her, the kitchen door. 10 paces. To her left, the service station, where a pot of coffee was still on the warmer. Too far. "I know you're a traitor," she said, her voice low. "I am a pragmatist," Dmitri corrected. "The Directorate, your government, they are dinosaurs. I am a free market enterprise. Now come." Rizzo and Wraith took a step toward her. "No," Mia said. "No?" Dmitri laughed. "You against 5 of my best men? You with a wine bottle? Your skills are a bit rusty, da." Rizzo lunged. He was fast for a big man, his hands reaching for her. Mia didn't move like a waitress. She moved like a predator. She didn't try to fight him. She yielded. As his hands grabbed her shoulder, she dropped, pivoting on her heel, using his own momentum to pull him off balance. In the same fluid motion, she brought the .78 Waitress not against his head, a rookie mistake. Bottles often break on a hard skull, but in a short, brutal arc against his wrist. There was a sound like a thick branch snapping, followed by a wet, gargling scream. Rizzo pulled back, howling, his hand dangling at an impossible angle, the 3-0 wine and a good amount of his blood splashing onto the floor. "My hand! She broke my hand!" Wraith, seeing his partner go down, didn't hesitate. He pulled a trench knife and lunged, aiming for her gut. Mia was already moving. She kicked the overturned chair from table 2 into his path. He stumbled just for a second, but it was all she needed. She wasn't running for the exit. That was what he'd expect. She ran sideways. She grabbed the edge of the white linen tablecloth from table 4, where the politician was still hiding. With a single powerful yank, she pulled. The entire table setting, plates, glasses, a vase of peonies, and a heavy, silver-plated ice bucket, flew through the air. Wraith, just regaining his balance, was met with a cascade of crystal, porcelain, and ice. He cursed, shielding his face. "Dmitri!" Mia shouted. Dmitri, who had been watching with a predatory fascination, looked at her. "Riga!" Mia spat. "You should have killed me." And with that, she grabbed a heavy silver tray from a service stand, spun, and hurled it like a discus. It didn't fly at an attacker. It flew at the towering, floor-to-ceiling wine rack behind the bar. The sound of hundreds of bottles of high-end wine crashing to the floor was like an explosion. It was the diversion. "Get her!" Dmitri roared, his composure finally breaking. "Get her now! Forget Thorn for a second! Get her!" But Mia was gone. She had vaulted the bar, scattering cocktail glasses, and disappeared through the double-swinging doors into the one place she knew better than any of them. The kitchen. The kitchen was its own kind of chaos, but it was her chaos. The moment she burst through the doors, the atmosphere changed. The front of house was a stage. The back of house was a war zone. "Everyone out!" Mia yelled. Her voice was not the polite, soft tone of a waitress. It was a command. It was the voice of Koshka. The kitchen staff, chefs in white, dishwashers, bus boys, froze. They saw the blood on her apron, the terrifying intensity in her eyes. "Out, now! Fire escape!" They didn't argue. They dropped pans, knives, and towels, scrambling for the steel door in the back, the one that led to the alley. Mia didn't watch them go. She turned, her eyes scanning her new arsenal. The kitchen, a place of heat, steel, and oil. She heard Dmitri roaring in the dining room. "Milo! Corvus! Hold Thorn! Wraith with me! We're flushing the cat!" The doors swung open. Dmitri and Wraith entered, moving in a practiced two-man cell formation. Wraith held his knife, his eyes darting. Dmitri held a silenced pistol, now finally drawn. "Koshka!" Dmitri called out, his voice echoing off the stainless steel. "This is beneath you. Hiding with the cooks?" Mia was already gone. She was in the narrow, dark hallway that connected the main kitchen to the walk-in freezers and the dry pantry. "She's in the service corridor," Wraith yelled, pointing. "You take the pantry. I'll take the freezer. She's trapped," Dmitri ordered. Mistake, Mia thought. "You're splitting your forces." She flattened herself in the tiny alcove behind the industrial ice machine. She heard Wraith's combat boots on the tile floor. He was breathing heavily, a slight wheeze. Smoker. Or just nervous. He passed her alcove, sweeping the pantry. "Clear!" Mia emerged behind him. She moved with no sound. Koshka. Wraith must have felt a change in the air, a sudden drop in temperature. He started to turn. Mia grabbed the first thing she could find, a steel hook hanging from the wall, used for hauling sides of beef. She didn't aim for his head. She aimed for his weapon. She hooked the knife hand, yanking him forward. He yelped as the knife clattered away. In the same motion, she drove her knee into the back of his thigh, hitting the sciatic nerve. His leg buckled. He fell to one knee, roaring in pain. "Traitor's dog," Mia whispered, and slammed the heel of her hand into the base of his skull. He went down, unconscious. 2 down. She heard a clank from the walk-in freezer. Dimitri. He was being cautious. He knew what she was. She looked at Wraith's unconscious form. She needed a weapon. His knife was good, but she saw something better. His earpiece. She plucked it from his ear, along with the small transmitter on his collar. She slipped it into her own ear. "Wraith? Status?" Dimitri's voice, crackling with static. Mia stayed silent. She crept back toward the main kitchen. "Wraith, answer me. Koshka, I know you can hear me. You're getting sloppy." Mia looked around the kitchen. The fryers were still bubbling. The gas stoves were still jetting blue flames. She heard footsteps, not from the pantry, but from the dining room. Milo or Corvus, coming to see what the delay was. Time to change the battlefield. She grabbed a heavy cast-iron skillet. She grabbed a full bag of flour from the prep station. Milo entered the kitchen, the taser prod in his hand. He looked at the chaos, the abandoned stations. "Wraith? Boss?" Mia was above him. She had climbed onto the steel prep counter. As Milo passed underneath, she did 2 things at once. First, she sliced open the bag of flour, dumping a massive, powdery cloud directly onto him. He yelled, blinded, a white ghost in the stainless steel kitchen. Second, she dropped. She landed on his back, her weight and the skillet driving him to the floor. The taser prod flew from his hand, skittering across the tile. Mia didn't hesitate. She brought the skillet down on the back of his head. Clang. He was out. 3 down. She grabbed the taser prod. She weighed it in her hand. "Good. Milo, status." Dimitri's voice was tight in her ear. He was angry now. Mia pressed the transmit button on the comms unit. "He's having a flowery white sail," she whispered. There was a moment of dead air. Then, a roar of pure fury. "Corvus, watch Thorn. I will kill her myself." The walk-in freezer door banged open. Dimitri emerged, his pistol up. But Mia was already moving again. She wasn't heading for the exit. She was heading back to the dining room. She had a new plan. Dimitri wanted a war. He was in her territory now. And she wasn't just Koshka anymore. She was Mia, the waitress. And she knew where all the spoons were. But as she burst back through the double doors, she saw a new complication. Marcus Thorn was gone. For a split second, Mia's blood ran cold. Had they escaped with him? Then she saw him. Corvus, the last of the 4 henchmen, was not holding Thorn at the table. He was dragging the Billionaire toward the service exit, the one Mia's staff had fled through. He's cutting his losses, trying to extract the package. But Thorn, despite his terror, was not a small man. He was struggling, digging in his heels, making it difficult. "Let go of me. My company will ruin you. I'll buy your entire country and turn it into a parking lot." "Shut up, old man," Corvus snarled, raising a fist. "Hey!" Mia's voice was sharp, cutting through the room. Corvus spun, dragging Thorn with him. He saw Mia. He saw the taser prod in her hand. He smiled, a nasty, broken-toothed expression. He was the only one who hadn't seen her in action. To him, she was just the waitress who got lucky. He raised his own prod. "Come, little girl. You want to play with the—" He never finished the sentence. Mia had already depressed the trigger on her stolen prod, firing the 2 electric darts. They hit Corvus square in the chest. He lit up like a Christmas tree, his body convulsing in a violent, agonizing dance before he crashed to the floor, unconscious. 4 down. The dining room was silent, save for the crackle of the comms in Mia's ear and the heavy, panicked breathing of Marcus Thorne. The billionaire stared at Corvus, then at Mia. He looked at the heavy-duty weapon in her hand, then at her blood-stained apron. His brain, which processed terabytes of data, was failing to compute this. You, who? What are you? Thorne stammered. Get up, Mia ordered, pulling the darts from Corvus's chest, the wires retracting with a whine. Dimitri is still in the building, she said, more to herself. He's the leader. He's the threat. Dimitri? Thorne asked, pushing himself up. The one who called you Koshka. What is going on? Shut up and listen, Mia snapped. The inversion of their roles was so complete, it was almost comical. This isn't a simple kidnapping. You think? Thorne shot back, a flash of his old arrogance returning. He knew me, Mia said, her mind racing. Dimitri doesn't do small-time jobs. This isn't about ransom. What does Silas Croft want from you? Thorne froze. How did you know that name? He'd bellowed it into his phone not 30 minutes ago. I listen, Mia said. Silas Croft, your rival. Dimitri is working for him. What did he hire him to get? Thorne's face went pale. It's not a what, it's a where. Project Chimera. What is Project Chimera? It's not public, Thorne said, wringing his hands. It's a new AI, a predictive warfare model. It can simulate and win any conflict before it starts. It's the most dangerous thing I've ever built. Croft wants it. He's been trying to get it for months. Mia cursed. This was not a kidnapping. It was corporate, no, global espionage. Dimitri wasn't just a mercenary, he was a broker. He wasn't taking Thorne for ransom, he was taking him for information, or worse, to deliver him to Croft. We have to get out of here, Thorne said, grabbing her arm. My bodyguards. Harris, Grant. Mia looked over. The two men were stirring, groaning. The taser shots were non-lethal, designed to incapacitate. Help them, Mia ordered Thorne. What? Me? You're not helpless, are you? Or is your only skill yelling into a phone? Get them conscious. We need them. Humbled, and for the first time in his life, taking orders from someone in a service uniform, Marcus Thorne scurried over to his security team. Mia checked the comms. Silence. Dimitri was hunting her. He was smart. He was off the radio. He was a ghost, just like her. She moved to the main entrance. Tapping the keypad, she swore. He's locked us in. Master override. And jammers are up. No one is calling out. Then what do we do? Thorne asked. He was splashing water from a pitcher onto Grant's face. The big man coughed, his eyes fluttering. We fight our way out, Mia said. Against him? Thorne protested. He's a professional killer. You're whatever you are. We're not against him, Mia said, a cold, hard smile touching her lips. He's against us. She looked at Harris and Grant, who were now sitting up, clutching their heads. Can you stand? Can you fight? Harris, a pro, shook the cobwebs from his head. He saw his boss, the downed attackers, and the waitress holding a taser. What happened? Ambush, Mia said. Leader's still in play. He's former Spetsnaz, highly trained. His name is Dimitri. He's in the kitchen, or the service tunnels. He wants your boss. Grant staggered to his feet. He took us down in seconds. Because you were expecting thugs. He's an operator, Mia said. But now he's just one man, and we're four. Thorne looked at their group, a billionaire, two groggy bodyguards, and a waitress. Some army. We're his worst nightmare, Mia said. We're an unknown variable. He's a planner. He didn't plan for this. She pointed at Thorne. You are the package. Your only job is to stay behind me and do exactly what I say. She pointed at Harris and Grant. "You are the muscle. You're my shields. I'll be the spear. We're going out the service exit. He's probably watching it, so we go fast and hard." Harris looked at her, his professional respect cutting through his confusion. "Who are you?" "I'm the one getting you out alive," Mia said. "Now arm up. They're non-lethal, but they'll do." She tossed her taser prod to Harris. She grabbed the one from Corvus and gave it to Grant. She kept Wraith's knife. "Mr. Thorne," Mia said, "grab that ice bucket." "What for?" "You're the diversion." Mia took a deep breath. She pressed the comms. "Dimitri, it's over. 4 of your men are down. Let us walk, and you can still get away." A laugh came over the earpiece. It was cold and full of contempt. "You think this is over, Koshka? You just took out the trash. Now you face me. You and the billionaire. You're both coming with me." A new voice crackled on the comm, one she hadn't heard. A pilot. "Ghost, this is Raptor. Airspace is getting hot. Police response in 5 minutes. You need to extract. Now." 5 minutes, Dimitri's voice said, now tight. "Meet me at the rendezvous. I'm coming out." He's coming, Mia thought. He's coming through the kitchen. "Plans changed," she said to the group. "He's on a clock. He's coming to us. We're not retreating. We're holding the line." She pointed to the main kitchen doors. "This is the choke point. Harris, Grant, on either side of the door. The moment it opens, you fire. Don't wait. Unload everything." "And you?" Grant asked. Mia smiled, spinning the knife in her hand. "I'm the surprise." The world narrowed to the 2 swinging doors of the kitchen. Mia stood directly in the center, 10 feet back, the comms unit in one hand, the knife in the other. Harris and Grant flanked the doorway, hidden from immediate view, prods raised. Marcus Thorne was cowering behind the marble bar, clutching the heavy silver ice bucket like a shield. "He's in the main kitchen," Mia whispered, listening to the feed. She could hear the faint clink of steel. "He's being cautious. He's looking for me." "Koshka!" Dimitri's voice boomed from the earpiece, and moments later echoed from the kitchen. "I'm impressed, truly. Milo, Wraith, they were good. You are better. You were always better than them." Mia didn't respond. She motioned to Harris. "Stay ready." "But this ends now, my little cat," Dimitri continued. "The Directorate, your precious agency, they're gone. The world is run by men like Thorne and Croft. By men like me. You chose the wrong side." "He's trying to draw me out. Trying to pinpoint my location," Mia thought. She saw the left door push open, just a crack. Dimitri's blue eye, a sliver of ice, peered through. "Now, Thorne!" Mia screamed. Thorne, in a surprising burst of adrenaline-fueled courage, popped up from behind the bar and hurled the ice bucket. It flew across the room and crashed into a stack of wine glasses, creating a deafening, chaotic sound. It was the perfect misdirection. Dimitri, thinking Mia was at the bar, burst through the doors. "Die!" He wasn't aiming at the bar. He was aiming at the center. He knew where she was. He fired his pistol. The thwack of the silenced round was quiet, but the smack of it hitting Mia's shoulder was sickeningly loud. Mia cried out, stumbling back, the knife clattering from her hand. Blood bloomed on her white shirt. "Mia!" Thorne yelled. Dimitri smiled, stepping into the room, his pistol sweeping for the bodyguards. "Aha," he said. But it was a trap. Harris and Grant didn't fire from the flanks. Mia had repositioned them. They were behind the upturned table 1, a makeshift barricade. As Dimitri stepped forward, they both rose and fired their taser prods. The darts hit Dimitri in the back. He screamed, a high-pitched, furious sound as the electricity ravaged his muscles. He dropped his pistol, his entire body locking up, and fell to his knees. But he wasn't done. With a roar that was more animal than human, he reached back, grabbing the wires of the tasers. He pulled. Harris and Grant, holding the prods, were yanked off their feet. The connection broke. Dimitri was on his feet in a second, his body still smoking. He was a monster. He lunged, not for his pistol, but for Mia, who was on the floor, clutching her shoulder. You did this!" he snarled, his face a mask of rage. He pulled a knife from his boot, a long, wicked-looking combat blade. Harris and Grant were scrambling, their prods useless at this range. Thorne was frozen. Mia looked up, her face pale, blood trickling from her lips. She had landed hard. Dimitri raised the knife. "Goodbye, Koshka." "Wait," Mia gasped. "No more words," he spat. "No," Mia said, a strange, faint smile on her face. "Wait for it." Dimitri paused. "What?" And then he heard it, the hiss. He looked down. While he'd been gloating, while he'd been focused on his knife, Mia had grabbed the taser prod that Grant had dropped. She hadn't fired the darts. She had pressed the drive stun button on the end, and she had pressed it hard into his thigh. There were no darts, no wires, just 50,000 volts arcing directly from the prod into his body. Dimitri's eyes went white. His mouth opened in a silent scream. The knife fell from his nerveless fingers. He stood, vibrating, for 3 agonizing seconds. And then, like a marionette with its strings cut, he collapsed on top of her. Mia, with her last ounce of strength, shoved the unconscious operative off her. The dining room was silent. Rizzo, Wraith, Milo, Corvus, and now Dimitri. 5 down. Mia lay on the floor, breathing heavily, the comms unit crackling in her ear. "Ghost? Ghost, do you copy? Police are on the block. I'm bugging out. Ghost!" The sound of the helicopter faded. Mia looked up at the ceiling. Marcus Thorne was standing over her, his $5,000 suit ruined, his face a mixture of terror, awe, and disbelief. You're bleeding," he said, stating the obvious. "It's just a graze," Mia lied. The bullet had torn through the muscle of her shoulder. It was not a graze. We're alive," Grant said, sitting up. Harris was already moving, picking up Dimitri's pistol and checking the other men, zip-tying their hands with the heavy-duty ties from the bar. Thorne knelt beside Mia. It was an awkward, unfamiliar motion for him. "Here," he said, fumbling with his silk pocket square. He pressed it against her shoulder. "This is... You did good," Mia said, her voice strained. "The ice bucket. Good thinking." Thorne almost laughed. "That was your idea." "Yeah," Mia whispered. "But you did it." The first thump of police boots sounded at the front door. Then the shattering of the glass windows. "Police! Get down! Hands in the air!" Mia looked at Thorne. "Tell them," she panted. "Tell them what happened." "I will," Thorne said, his voice firm. "I'll tell them everything. I'll tell them you saved us. I'll give you anything. A job. Head of my security. $1 million. 10 million. Mia just looked at him, her vision starting to blur at the edges. The adrenaline was fading, and the pain was setting in, a white-hot fire. "I don't want your money, Mr. Thorne," she said. "Then what do you want?" Mia's eyes fluttered. "A new apron. This one's ruined." And then, for the first time in 3 years, she allowed herself to pass out. Mia woke up to the smell of ozone and filtered air. It wasn't the smell of truffle oil from Ethelred's, nor the familiar, comforting scent of her own cheap laundry detergent. It was the smell of nowhere. It was sterile, cold, and utterly anonymous. Her first sensation was pain, a hot, heavy, throbbing fire in her left shoulder. Her second was an assessment. Her eyes snapped open. She wasn't in a hospital. There were no flowers, no get-well cards, no beeping EKG. The walls were a soft, non-reflective grey. The single window was a sheet of opaque frosted glass that let in light but no image of the outside world. She was on a simple bed, more of a cot, and her arm was expertly bandaged. She was not restrained. That, more than anything, set her on edge. Restraints meant they thought she was a prisoner. No restraints meant they were testing her. She sat up, a pained hiss escaping her lips. Her body ached, a symphony of bruises from her brawl with Dimitri's men. On a small steel bedside table sat a plastic cup of water and 2 white pills. She catalogued the room. 1 door, steel, no visible handle on the inside. 1 small, circular vent. In the top corner, where the wall met the ceiling, was a dark, tinted bubble. A camera. She was being watched. She ignored the camera. She swung her legs over the side of the bed. Her waitress uniform was gone, replaced with a simple grey t-shirt and loose-fitting scrub pants. Her bare feet touched the cold, seamless floor. She stood, testing her weight. She was weak, dizzy, but functional. She walked to the table, picked up the pills, and, in a single, practiced motion, palmed them, swallowing only the water. She would pretend to take them. She needed her head clear. She sat back on the bed, her back straight, and waited. She did not have to wait long. The door opened with a near-silent hiss of hydraulic air. A man stepped in. He was not a doctor. He was not a cop. He was a man in his late 50s, wearing an immaculate but unremarkable grey suit. He had thin, wire-rimmed glasses and the air of a university provost. He carried a tablet, which he held like a shield. "Good afternoon, Miss Casey," he said. His voice was calm, measured. Or, should I say, Koshka? Maya's blood, which had been sluggish, turned to ice water. She said nothing. Her face remained a perfect, neutral mask. The man smiled, a brief, thin-lipped expression that held no warmth. "My name is Director Shaw. I'm with a department that, well, let's just say we don't have a public-facing website." He sat in the room's only other chair, placing it just outside her theoretical kicking range. "Smart. You're a very difficult woman to find," he continued, tapping his tablet. "And an even more difficult one to categorize. VSK 7721. Directorate, Special Operations Division, Riga Station. Burned, compromised, and presumed killed in action 3 years ago. Yet here you are, serving wine." He looked up. "You created quite a storm, Mia. You didn't just break up a kidnapping. You blew up an entire international espionage operation." "I was a waitress," Mia said, her voice a low, rough rasp. 5 men attacked my restaurant. I defended myself." Shaw almost laughed. "You defended yourself against 5 of Dmitry Sokolov's top-tier operatives. You incapacitated all 5, including Sokolov himself, with a bullet in your shoulder, using a combination of a wine bottle, a skillet, a bag of flour, and 2 non-lethal tasers. The creativity was rather impressive." He swiped on the tablet and turned it to face her. It was a live feed from a news helicopter. It showed the front of Ethelred's, now a swarm of police cars, news vans, and federal agents. "You are, as of 12 hours ago, the mystery waitress," Shaw said. "The angel of Ethelred's. The entire city is obsessed with you." "I don't want fame," Mia said. "Oh, it's not fame you have to worry about," Shaw said, his tone darkening. "It's the consequences." He began to lay it out, point by point, like a corporate briefing. "First, Dmitry Sokolov. He's in one of our black site medical facilities. He's been singing. He's furious. He's confirmed your identity to us, and, more importantly, to his real employers. He's told them Koshka is alive." Mia's knuckles, gripping her knee, went white. "Second, Silas Croft. He's been in damage control all day. He's publicly denying any involvement. But he knows you're the one who stopped the extraction. He's a man of immense resources and zero morality. He will not let this go. He will hunt you, if only to clean up the loose end. Third, and this is the real problem, Shaw said, leaning forward. Dmitri wasn't just working for Croft. Croft was the buyer. Dmitri was a broker for a much larger, much more dangerous organization. We call them the Cinder Group. They sell global instability to the highest bidder. They just lost a multi-billion-dollar payday, Project Chimera, and had 5 of their best assets captured. They are displeased. They do not tolerate failure. They do not, under any circumstances, tolerate ghosts. Mia finally spoke. So I'm a target, from Croft, and from this Cinder Group. Ah, but you're missing the most dangerous man of all, Shaw said. You're forgetting Marcus Thorne. Meanwhile, 50 stories above the city, Marcus Thorne's penthouse office was in chaos. His personal physician was trying to refit his high-tech sling, but Thorne kept waving him away. His desk was covered in paper, and his board of directors was yelling at him. "Marcus, you are insane!" screamed a man named Peterson, his face purple. "Dissolving Chimera, scrubbing the data. That is our entire future. It's trillions of dollars. You're letting sentimentality cloud your judgment." Thorne, who only 48 hours ago would have agreed, slammed his good hand on the desk. The sound was like a gunshot. "Sentimentality?" he roared. "I was on my knees, Peterson. I was a package, a piece of meat, waiting to be delivered. My bodyguards, the best money could buy, were on the floor. My money meant nothing. My power meant nothing." He stalked to the window, his back to the room. And then, that waitress, she stood up. She had nothing. No armor, no backup, no $5,000 suit. She had a wine bottle, and she took them all on. She didn't do it for money. She didn't do it for stock options. She did it. I don't know why she did it, but she saved my life, and she saved that thing from getting out. He turned, his eyes burning with a new, terrifying zeal. "I built a weapon, gentlemen. I was so arrogant, I thought I could build the perfect sword, and no one would ever try to take it. That waitress, she showed me what real strength is, and what real risk is." "Project Chimera is terminated," Thorne declared. "Scrub the servers, pull the core, and bury it in concrete. We are reinvesting the entire R&D budget into defensive systems, protecting power grids, water supplies, and medical infrastructure. We're done building swords. We're building shields." "The board will never approve," Peterson began. "The board can go to hell," Thorne spat. "I'll buy every one of you out. I don't care." His personal phone buzzed. He looked at the caller ID. Silas Croft. Thorne smiled, a predator's grin. He hit speaker. "Marcus, my friend." Croft's voice was oily, full of false sympathy. "I just heard about the terrible incident at Ethelred's. Thank God you're all right. Such a chaotic world we live in." "Save it, Silas," Thorne said, his voice cold as ice. I don't know what you mean, Marcus. I was just calling to—" "I know it was you," Thorne said, cutting him off. The room went silent. "You sent those animals. You tried to kidnap me. You tried to steal my work." A long, heavy pause on the line. "You can't prove that, Marcus," Croft finally said, his voice now a venomous hiss. "I don't have to," Thorne said. "Because you failed. And I'm coming for you, Silas. I'm liquidating half my personal stock in Thorne Dynamics. I'm funding a new, hostile acquisitions division. Its one and only target is you. I'm going to buy your company. I'm going to fire your board. I'm going to auction off your desk. And then I'm going to sell the whole rotten shell for parts. That's my hard karma coming for you." He hung up on Croft's sputtering, furious reply. Thorne turned to his security chief, a man who had replaced the now hospitalized Harris. "Find me that waitress. I don't care what it costs. I'm offering a $20 million reward for any information leading to her safe recovery and identification. I want to give her a medal. I want to give her half my company. Just find her." He looked at his desk. Sitting on a velvet cloth was a single, simple black apron, stiff with dried blood. His and hers. Back in the grey room, Shaw switched off the tablet, which had been live streaming the audio from Thorne's office. Mia was pale. "A $20 million reward," she whispered. He's put a bounty on my head." "He thinks he's helping," Shaw said. "He thinks he's a king, bestowing a reward on a commoner. What he's done is he's painted a target on you so large it can be seen from orbit. Every PI, every two-bit criminal, every high-end assassin from here to Macau is now looking for the mystery waitress. Silas Croft is looking, the Cinder Group is looking, and Marcus Thorne, with all his money and good intentions, is shining a global spotlight on you." He let the weight of that sink in. "Your old life, Mia Casey. It was a good cover. It was quiet. It was invisible. It was peaceful." He said the word peaceful like it was a quaint, antique concept. "That life is over," Shaw said, his voice softening just a fraction. "It evaporated the second you chose to act. You can never go back. You can never serve wine again. You can never be Mia Casey. She is, for all intents and purposes, the most wanted woman in the world." Mia closed her eyes. The cage. She had built herself a quiet, simple cage, and it had been safe. Now that cage was gone, and she was in the open, with the entire world hunting her. "So what now?" she asked, her voice hollow. "You debrief me, and then you lock me in a hole? Or do you just kill me to tie up the loose end?" "We are, as they say, at a crossroads," Shaw said. He stood and walked to the door. "We have two, and only two, options for you. We've prepared for both." He gestured to the door. "Option 1. We give you a new life, a deep, deep cover. We'll make you a librarian in Alaska, a park ranger in New Zealand, a new face, new papers, but you'll be dark. No social media, no friends, no connections. You'll be a ghost, but a hunted one. You'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder, waiting for the Cinder Group or Croft to find you. It's not a life. It's a prison. But you'll be safe. We can have you on a plane in an hour." "And option 2? Mia asked, though she already knew the answer. Her old life, Koshka, was a life of violence. Her new life, Mia, was a life of peace. Both were now destroyed. "Option 2, Shaw said, is you stop running." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a simple, black-banded watch. It was functional, heavy, and had no branding. He placed it on the bedside table. "You're a weapon, Mia. You've been pretending to be a wine bottle. We're a new formation unit, agency-sanctioned, but completely off-book. We are the people who hunt men like Silas Croft. We are the ones who dismantle organizations like the Cinder Group. We're all dead. We're all ghosts. We don't have lives. We have missions." He tapped the watch. "This is option 2. This is your access key to our network, our armory, our world. It's also a dead man's switch and a tracker. You put this on and you come work for us. You won't be Mia. You won't be Koshka. You'll be one of us. You'll be a ghost. Your hidden skill doesn't have to be hidden anymore." "You want me to hunt," Mia said. "We want you to do what you were trained to do," Shaw corrected. "What you did at Ethelred's. You saw a threat, you analyzed it, and you neutralized it. We just want to aim you at bigger threats." He looked at her, his academic eyes holding a sliver of understanding. "Thorne is a good man, but he's a fool. He's a loud, rich fool, and now he's a target, too. He's declared war on Croft, and Croft will retaliate. He'll need protection. From a distance." That was the final hook. Mia looked at the watch. The irony was so thick she could choke on it. "So, my first assignment is protecting the man who just destroyed my life." "Your first assignment," Shaw said, a true small smile appearing, "is surviving. And your first target is Silas Croft. Time to return the favor he tried to do for Mr. Thorne. Consider it professional karma." Shaw walked to the door. "A car is waiting in the subterranean bay. In 1 hour, it will leave. If you're not in it, we'll activate the Option 1 protocol, and you'll wake up in Alaska. The choice is yours." The door hissed open and then shut, leaving Mia alone in the grey room. She stared at the watch. The life she wanted, the quiet, invisible life of Mia Casey, was a story she had told herself, a fantasy. It was gone. The life she had, the violent, betrayed life of Koshka, was a nightmare she had run from. Now there was only this. A third way. Not a life, but a purpose. She picked up the watch. It was heavy, cold, fade out, fade in. A black, armored sedan moved silently through a secure tunnel, merging into city traffic. In the back, a woman stared out the window. Her hair was different, cut shorter, dyed a deep, dark auburn. She wore simple, black, tactical civilian clothes. The wound in her shoulder was a dull, burning ache, a constant reminder. She was not Mia. She was not Koshka. She raised her left wrist and fastened the black-banded watch. It clicked into place, and the dark face lit up. There was no time, no date, just a single line of encrypted text. New objective, S. Croft. Assets, offline. Rules of engagement, dismantle. A faint, cold smile touched her lips. She had been a cat. She had been a waitress. She had been hunted. Now, she was the ghost, and she was the one who haunted. And just like that, Mia was gone. A ghost who saved a king, only to vanish back into the shadows. Marcus Thorne's life was changed, his company saved, but he was left with a question he could never answer. Who was she? This story shows that the most dangerous person in the room is often the one you see the least. What did you think of Mia's hidden skill? Did Dimitri deserve his hard karma? And what about Marcus Thorne? Did he truly change? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you loved this story of drama, twists, and hidden power, make sure to hit that like button. Share this video with someone who loves a good thriller. And please, subscribe to the channel. We have so many more stories like this one coming your way, and you won't want to miss a single one. Thanks for listening.